there's a lot of great tools on the website. So we'll just continue with sign in. You have the ability to, instead of using your agent number, you can change it to that to create a username and password. But I think for most of us, we probably log in like this. So just one little refresher too, this is really important. We noticed last month that we did have, and I'm sure that this is a result of the pandemic just a little bit, but just keep a really close eye on this dashboard when you first log in, especially the policies endangered. This is going to give you a good place to be able to look to see if you've got anybody that's behind on their premiums, or is risking having a terminated policy. So if you catch it on the endangered side, you're going to have less on your terminated side here. So just kind of pay attention there. If you open your dashboard, though, I'm going to go probably back to this other page here in just a second, but we're going to open our dashboard here. This is my personal agent number, so obviously you're not going to see anything of any significance because I don't personally write business, but I thought I'd use mine as just kind of a platform. So all of you have got me beat this month, so congratulations. Looks like I've had a little bit of activity here, a bunch of terminated policies, people that have died on business that I probably wrote a long time ago. But here's what your dashboard is going to look like. So if you're wanting to look at the individual endangered policies, so, and again, you guys get in, log in, look at this on a regular basis, but just click on your endangered policies here, and endangered policy reports is going to pop up. There's nothing on mine, of course, but then you can at least follow up with those families, see what you can do there. If you have an endangered policy, a family that's maybe gotten behind on a couple of premiums, but is wanting to continue their policy but does not have the ability to catch up on their premiums, there is an option where we can basically, it's called redate to reinstate. So anytime you've got something that comes up, or you've got a family or you can sometimes downgrade the policy and make it a premium that they can afford. But instead of having something cancel, and once a policy is 60 days past due on the premium, it's going to automatically cancel. Not a whole lot we can do about when there's deaths that happen, because we are in the funeral business and we're going to write up people and they are going to pass away. But just these are the ones primarily that we want to pay really close attention to when they've just gotten behind on their premiums. Of course, another good way to avoid this is try to get people set up. Either you get them on a single pay. Obviously, you're not going to have a problem with single pays. And you're obviously not going to have as much of a problem when you set people on pre-authorized collections, so the payments are coming out automatically. So, anyways, I want to go back to the home page though here, because this is the areas that I want to focus on for this particular call. If you log in, you're going to see that there's a whole bunch of new stuff that pops up on a pretty regular notice or on a pretty regular basis for some tools that are available for you guys to be able to conduct business online. So I'm just going to kind of roll through these so that you see what's available. First of all, there's, as a reminder, there are several ways now that we can submit business. You can fax an app, which I'll show you that in just a second. You can use online enrollment, which is automatically going to send the policy to homesteaders, and is going to, and then the homesteaders will issue the policy to the family. Now, you can upload paperwork directly to homesteaders. So as opposed to having to mail in applications, you can just upload the paperwork, and there's an upload portal, and I'm just going to review that as well. And then the other really important option here, and again, some of you have used this very successfully, is to be able to sign both paper and or online enrollments on behalf of the family, so that if they don't want to meet in person, you have the ability to handle all of this online without a face-to-face meeting. So these are the things that I kind of want to just refresh you on and cover briefly in each area if you want, or if you have specific questions, or if you've had any challenges with any of these things, then you have the ability to do that. So first of all is when you're logged in, you're on your dashboard, you have a fax and app cover sheet. So if you're going to fax completed enrollment forms with goods and services to homesteaders, if you want to fax it to them, not have to stick it in the mail, you have the fax and app option. So this is the option that we're going to use when we want to fax. So this is going to be the cover sheet. Keep in mind that you have to have both pages, front and back, of all of the forms that Homesteaders is going to require. So when you're getting ready to send this out, just kind of keep that in mind. A lot of fax machines now have the ability to send two-sided fax. So when they come through, again, that's something that's more of a individual local thing as far as what your printers have, or yes, printers / scanners / fax machines have the ability to do. But funny thing is, in the fax business, or in the funeral business, we still have a lot of fax machines and we still fax a lot of paperwork. So you're going to submit this form, completing as much information as you possibly can, with the agent name, agent number, and you're going to just fax it, complete all this information, make sure that you follow each of the steps here. You've got all accompanying documents are faxed. You want to fax originals mostly because they are easiest to read. So when you're faxing your paperwork, make sure you fax the original documents. And then also, the other part of this is to collect the initial premium. So instead of having to get a paper check, because we're not mailing anything, you're going to have to fill out this second form here. This is the authorization to withdraw initial premium. So you're going to put in the name of the bank. And also, by the way, if I click on any of these, this is a fillable form, so you can fill this out and print it. So it all is nicely typed up, right? So we're going to fill all this information out. The name of the bank, amount to be withdrawn, whether it's a modal pay or a single pay, doesn't make a difference. You have the routing number. This is the 9-digit routing number of the bank. You have the account number, which could be a short account number, it could be a long account number, depending upon the bank. The insured's full name, the account holder's name, and then you're going to have them sign this form. But this is really easy just to fill out and print if they're there in the office, but they do have to sign this form unless you have them do the limited power of attorney, and we're going to show you that in just a second. You can actually sign this form on their behalf if you're using the limited power of attorney. So this is option number 1 for sending in paperwork to homesteaders. Not the best option, but it is an option that's available, okay? The other option is, if you're in here at the top screen, you have, when you go to enrollment, you have online enrollment, and you have a new feature that's here that's called New Business Upload. So this is where you can submit business just by simply uploading it to the portal here. So again, following the process, we're just going to put the applicant name in here. Let's just do a fake one. We're going to put Larkin Mortuary as my funeral home. As I'm typing this stuff in, do definitely keep in mind that that you need to make sure that whatever your internal processes are for making sure that funeral home has copies of the paperwork, that you are familiar with that. But with that being said, and then we're going to have the payment method, which is either card or is automatic payment collection here, ACH. Okay. And then we're just going to, let's assume that you have the ability at your office or at home, or maybe you've done it from your phone even. There's some great document scanners that you can actually, apps that you can put on your phone. But we're going to choose a file to upload here. Let's go to agency documents. Maybe I'll just go to my desktop. So if we go here to our agency documents, basically wherever you have saved that scanned paperwork. So you're going to save that scanned paperwork to your computer. Again, if you need help with any of these steps too, you guys, you're just not really comfortable with how to scan documents and how to save them to your computer, these are things that your manager can help you with. We can log in to go to meeting with you individually and kind of show you how to do this. But there's several ways that we can send this out. So let's just for fun here, let's send them this progression of a pre-need presentation here. So now I have my file there. If I want to add any other files, I can continue to add additional paperwork if I need to. So let's give them importance of focus as well. Or I guess I take that back. I guess you just got to do one at a. Oh no! So here's the. So we got progression of presentation. So if I've got separate files, I can add them all together. If I'm going to send a related applicant, so I'm doing a husband and wife, I can do that separately here by adding that. And then if I just click submit. Oops, here we go. Sorry, this is a. I'm just going to put other and other here. So these are the types of forms that we're sending with this. I'm going to click submit, and then this paperwork is going to be automatically submitted to Homesteader. So again, you have this option of submitting documents without, again, this is saving time on sticking stuff in the mail and mailing it to homesteaders. It's a much more efficient way of doing things when you're sending paperwork to homesteaders. If you have any questions about how to do this or want to do one for your first time, you've written a policy and you want to make sure that you get it done right, you get it done right the first time, just reach out to us and we'll walk you through doing this on your first one so you can see how to do it. One really very important feature and is the ability to be able to do online enrollment and be able to do paper applications for a family when they're not meeting you face to face, so they can't actually sign. This is something that we really want to make sure that we do with the family. So I'm going to give you an example of how to do that. We actually have, this is the signature authorization form. So again, you're logged into your home page. There's these options here. It's a signature authorization form. This gives you the ability to sign on behalf of the. If I click this signature authorization form, and I'm actually going to go, well, I'll do that here in just a second. But so let's actually go back here. So this is something that this part of the process the family has to do on their own. So your clients have to do this on their own. So if you type in homesteaderslife.com/LPOA, this is going to bring up the same form, okay? So this is the link that you will send to a family. So you're going to want to take care of everything on their behalf. They've already approved a proposal that you filled out for them. They're happy with that amount. You've now completed the application. You've completed the goods and services, or you've done the online enrollment. You're going to send them that link, homesteaderslife.com/LPOA. Send them that link, and this is the form that's going to come up, and you're just going to help walk them through filling this out. So it's good to have it on your screen, and you can walk through this form with them, okay? Seeing if there's any chats coming through, by the way. Sherry's question, and it's a brilliant question. Why would you fax instead of processing online? That's a really good question, Sherry. I actually wouldn't fax, but we do have a couple of states that don't allow online enrollment. So that's probably the only reason why you would want to do it that way, is if you didn't have the ability to do online enrollment. So okay, so here we're going to go their initial premium payment method. So let's say it's going to be pre-authorized collection from the bank. So this is where you're going to type in the information once again about their financial institution. Again, you're online with them, filling this out, making sure that they've got all the lines filled out together. They're going to put in your name here, agent name, walk them through this. A lot of times the insured and the owner is the same person, so I'm buying a policy for myself for my pre-need plan. In the event that it's not, if I'm buying, for example, a plan for my father is the proposed insured. This is just like your paperwork, your application. my father is the proposed insured and I'm the owner of the policy. You're going to walk them through all of this stuff. They're going to sign their name the best they can with their mouse button. Older people, by the way, who aren't really familiar with this, just remind them that when they're signing it, they just grab their mouse, they hold down their left mouse button, and they sign this the best that they can. And then where this to be emailed to them, the signed LPOA. Once they've done this and submit this to homesteaders, you can now, again, do the enrollment form and the goods and services form on their behalf. You can sign everything on their behalf, and you can then either fax it to them, you can do online enrollment, or you can do the paperwork upload option to get this paperwork to homesteaders. So I'm not going to click submit because it's going to tell me I'm missing a whole bunch of information. So again, remember that link, and we can send it out to homesteaderslife.com/LPOA, which is abbreviation for limited power of attorney. You can then fill this out. The other very important thing when you are signing a contract on behalf of the family, just make sure that you sign it as your agent name. So I'm going to sign it as West Folger, LPOA, for the name of the insured or the name of the policy owner. So when we send in that paperwork that you've signed on their behalf, but you can't sign their name, it's illegal to sign somebody's name. You're going to sign your name, LPOA, for the name of the insured or the name of the policy owner. If you do it that way, Homesteaders is going to know that they need to look for the limited power of attorney form, which is going to be submitted electronically to them. And they, of course, have a database of those. So when that paperwork comes through, they've already got that there. So I'm going to pause here for just a second and see if there's any questions. And then also, I believe we've got a good amount of people on the call here. But if anybody has had experience with this, if you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself and just kind of sharing with the team. I think, Jane, you've done a number of these. Nicholas, I think you've done a few, but I would just kind of love to hear some feedback on how this has worked for you personally. Jane, would you mind sharing some of the success that you've had with this?
What I was going to say is if you're using the online electronic method of doing it, you don't actually have to sign your name saying you're signing as LPOA. What they're asking for is you ask them 2 questions electronically for their mother's maiden name. You ask them for the school that they went to and or their father's middle name. And you answer 2 out of the 3 questions. Then the other requirement that they're asking for is in the special instructions area. You have to write in, and I forget sometimes, you have to write in signed this agreement using the LPOA, and either you have viewed their driver's license, they've shown it to you, on the phone or something, or you've gotten their social security number. So most of the time, I ask them for their social security number for the agreement anyway, because they're giving it in vital stats form anyway. And then I just write that in the special instructions. And as long as you do that, then you can submit electronically.
Perfect. So that is referring to the online enrollment, because there's not a sign electronically. Exactly right. You don't have to sign anything physically, and that electronic signature requires them to answer 2 out of 3 questions. So,
correct.
So great example. How many of these do you think that you've done, Jane, that you've completed funeral arrangement plans without having to meet anybody face to face since this has all started?
I would say since March, out of all the plans that I've written, I've only met with very few people in person. So I would say the majority that I have submitted thus far have been submitted through the electronic enrollment online and just using the LPOA. And I either use the LPOA first and I walk them through filling out the LPOA first to make sure it gets done, because sometimes people say, oh yeah, send me the link and I'll get it done, and then they forget. So I've made it a point to either do it before and walk them through it, then we do the agreement, or we do the agreement, and once we finalize, then we go to the LPOA and do it right after.
Perfect. So how have you personally been getting to the point of agreeing on the total funeral amount? Do you send them a proposal first? Just trying to get some feedback for those who are wanting to do this.
I always send them proposals. I sometimes have to tweak it 2 or 3 times, but
Perfect.
I start out with the, you know, what kind of a package they're looking for and what are the items they're looking for, and then the cash advance items. Send that agreement to them. Then they might call me back and say, no, I don't want this, or I've decided I want to add this. So we tweak it, so when we finally do it on the phone, I mean on the computer, they're looking at the same agreement I'm looking at with the same price.
Perfect. That's great. So just feedback from Jane. I hope you guys can kind of get a sense. You know, she was our number 2 producer in the month of July, over 100,000 in business, and as she just shared, a majority of that was done without a face-to-face meeting. So you know, we are, you know, still hearing a little bit when we're getting feedback. Nobody wants to meet. Nobody wants to meet in person. We actually think that that's a real thing. I think that we've all experienced, you know, and especially in Houston where you're at, Jane and Cindy, you know, there's been a significant spike over the last month or so there, and things have gotten a little bit rough. But it just kind of goes to show that if you get comfortable with some of these tools, you can still be very successful. So again, if people don't want to meet in person, that shouldn't stop the sales process. So if you need help with, you know, doing this right, how to send a proposal, there are some great tools available. You can even just, you know, put something together in an email. Do you use a form to send a proposal, or do you just kind of type everything out in the body of the email when you first get started?
Say what?
When you're doing a proposal, do you just type that out in the body of the email, or do you have something that you fill out and then like send them a document for the proposal?
Oh, I actually send them a copy of the agreement.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, I send the whole agreement for them to look at the wording and look at everything. It's a 6-page document.
Okay, so you're actually filling out all the paperwork and then saving that as a PDF and sending that to them before you get this far. That's the actual proposal.
Correct.
Perfect. Okay.
Correct. And then if there's any other things I need to write in the email to explain, then I'll send that in the email along with the document.
Perfect. Okay, so you can see it's a little bit again of a multi-step process, and there might be some back and forth. So it's a little bit slower than obviously sitting at the kitchen table and you know, going through the numbers and adding things and taking things off, and there's a little bit more back and forth here. But again, if people are saying, you know, well, we don't really want to get together in person, we don't want to come to the funeral, we don't want you to come to our house, which we know we're still hearing some of that. Our objection should really be that's no problem. We can just go over this all online. Okay, so again, you have the ability to do this in a lot of cases. If you don't, or if you can't do online enrollment, you can still do everything on paper. This is really important. You can still do everything on paper and do the LPOA. If you're doing it all on paper, you could send that, you could scan those contracts and send that to the family as their proposal so they can review it. You again just have to walk them through the LPOA so they're comfortable with the terms of the agreement. Are there any questions on this?
Wes, this is Lou. I'm doing something very similar to Jane, but I'm not using the LPOA. I'm using Zoom and telephone conferences with people.
Perfect.
going through all the information, then doing an online application, printing it out, sending it to them. But I do meet with them at the end to get their signatures. Only, you know, everything's already done and settled, and it's just signing it and getting a check.
Great. So that's another great example, Lou, of thanks for sharing that when you do finally meet in person, you're just meeting for signatures. So you've already had the conversation, you've already gone through everything, the paperwork's already all filled out, so you're just meeting to gather signatures. So that's another way of utilizing these tools. You know, for those who, you know, haven't had a chance to try an online meeting, or you haven't done this as a group, I mean, I think by now, I would hope that all of you have either participated, because you guys are all on these calls, right? So you know how to use GoToMeeting. Zoom is a very popular platform right now. I'm guessing many of you have probably been invited to Zoom meetings. We've actually been conducting or Myers Mortuary in Ogden has been doing a online series called Good Grief. And we've had more than 70 people actually registered to attend and watch those guest speakers via Zoom. So we know that people are comfortable or getting comfortable with that process. You can go on and create a free Zoom account. You are limited in time with the free account, I think to 45 minutes or something like that. But even if you had to upgrade, it's very affordable. But just another good example of you being able to, you can share your screen and you can go over everything with them, and they're watching you do it. You can have the conversation. And if you want to do it online with the LPOA, you can obviously just take care of that with them as they're going through it. Or you can just if you want to get wet signatures at the very end of the process, you can certainly do that as well. So thank you, Lou, for sharing. Thanks, Jane. Are there any other questions, or is anybody else on the call doing things a little bit differently? Nick, you've done several of these. What's your process, Nicholas? Is Nicholas still on the call, or did he jump off? He's probably muted. Nicholas, you there? Looks like he's still on. Maybe he's muted me too. Okay. So that gives you, again, several options. Again, if you're struggling with this at all, you guys, or you need a little bit of help, all of the managers, Aaron, Travis, Michael, they're all very familiar with this process, and it's been really great to see a number of these come through and working. You know, what Lou shared, what Jane has shared, and other people who have been through this process so far. So you have the ability to do all of this online without a face-to-face meeting. So don't let I don't want to meet in person objection get in your way. Just, you can simply ask for permission. Well, if there was a way for us to do all of this online where I could send you some information, we could view the same screen, would that be an option that you'd be open to? And a lot of people are going to be comfortable with that. They're just avoiding, for those who are especially cautious, and especially if you guys think about this, our target market are typically people who are a little bit older, and they're going to be more cautious, and they should be more cautious right now in going out and exposing themselves to possibly getting sick. So don't be so surprised by that objection, because it is going to happen, and you can just give them comfort in knowing that you have the ability to take care of all of this stuff without having to meet face to face. Just set them at ease. That's no problem. We have this great option now where we can just do all of this online. Do you have a computer? Are you comfortable if I sent you some information that we could go over it together? So the best way to do this, if you're not comfortable with things like Zoom and stuff like that, just try it with a family member, try it with your spouse, try it with a friend, and just kind of just practice just a little bit so that you make sure you're really comfortable with having them click the link It's really easy to do this stuff. They click a link and it opens it on their screen and they can see your screen. It's not that complicated, but we kind of get scared by it because it's new, and because things are new, it's scary. But I'd recommend just practicing with somebody and get really comfortable with the options that we have online. So do we have any other questions about these things that we've covered so far? Okay, perfect. The other thing that I wanted to share, again, this is a refresher, and in some cases, keep in mind that I think everybody, for the most part, with the exception of probably a couple of firms, our newest one, Gunderson, we haven't gotten these done for them yet. I know we've started to add some things to online enrollment there, but I wanted to just, again, remind you guys of the packages. If you want us to resend them to you, you don't have them, please reach out to us and we'll send them to you. But early on with this pandemic, we created for everybody, with the exception of just a few, we created digital presentation packets. And so I just wanted to remind you guys that these are available. Let's just bring up, so this is a pre-need packet. Let's just go to Comer here. So if you need us to resend these to you, we can do that. We originally sent them out, but it's been a few months now. But again, you have these packages. So if you don't have, this is a really good place to start. So if you're wanting to send out information to a family, we really aren't comfortable meeting, could you send us some information? You have a couple of options here. One is you could send them a link and you could go over it with them so that you guys are both seeing the same thing together. This particular package here is actually designed for them to look at and read through on their own, but you could obviously go through this with them. But so here's the Allheiser Comer packet. We've kind of created this 5 easy steps process. We'll invite you to learn more about pre-planning. It talks about the mortuary, and we've made this big font, right? So this is large font. It's very easy to read. We're going to have them read through the personal and financial benefits of pre-planning. We're going to review the packages. We're going to choose a package. We're going to complete. This has the ability to and I'll show you as we get to the end. We can complete and print the last page of this document, the vital statistics form. We'll contact you via phone, email, and or text to review your payment options to schedule a phone or in-home meeting. We'll meet briefly in your home or email your documents for review and signature approval to activate your funeral and or cremation plan. They can read through this stuff, so it kind of talks about the financial and emotional responsibility from the family, removing it from loved ones, making decisions together, having peace of mind. Here's the financial benefits. It's a guaranteed investment. Prices are protected. Affordable monthly payments prevent emotional overspending. We have the pie chart built into this so they can kind of see the decisions that have to be made. I would really recommend going through this stuff with them online through Zoom or NowDeck. Those are both options that are available. I'm probably not going to have time. I can quickly show you NowDeck. Some of you have actually used that very successfully as well, but Zoom works incredibly well too because it puts you in the driver's seat. And then we built these packages, right? So they can kind of browse through the packages and see what they like. And we've included the funeral services, the casket, a total amount, if there's any savings that we've got for your firm, kind of based upon either pre-need savings or package savings. Those are kind of built in here as well. We also include the away from home protection in each of these packages. So when they look at this bottom line price, this is the amount that they're looking at. Again, maybe if you're sending this out, though, you might want to have some basic information about the family, just their age primarily. So if you're sending out a proposal, you might actually include their payment options in that proposal. So you could get the app out on your calculator and say, if they pick this package, for example, or at least mention that there's monthly premium options available so that they know they don't have to come up with the full amount of the package. So Again, if they pick one of these, you could actually just take one and put an example. For example, if you chose the traditional funeral service with popular casket at your age, 64, you have the option of paying that all at once at $8,014, or you can pay for it over a 3, 5, 7, or 10-year period of time, and then tell them or let them know what the premium options are. So what we're trying to do here, what I'm trying to show you, is that we're still getting some feedback from people on the team that nobody wants to meet in person. That's probably a little bit of an exaggeration, but if we hear that a couple of times, it's discouraging. But if you get comfortable with the things that we've created and the tools that are available, it's going to make a big, big difference in allowing you to be able to continue to serve families. And this is something too, again, you guys, that none of this is going to go away. So we now have, and we've grown a lot during all of this pandemic. And I'm really glad that this has happened, because we used to only have two options when we would do pre-need funeral planning. We would ask them, would you like to come to the funeral home, or would you like for us to come to your home to discuss this? We now have a third option. It's a third option that is not going to go anywhere. So we now have the ability to help families without ever having to meet face-to-face. We've never had that option before. So if people are comfortable with meeting in person, that's obviously a great first choice. But again, we have the third option of saying, you know what, that's okay. We can actually do all of this without meeting in person, and you can start the process. So if you need some direction and guidance on any language or help with getting that done, then be sure to let us know, and we'll reach out to you. So those are the options available that you have. I'm just going to quickly, one last thing here, jump back into Homesteaders. If I can, I'll go over here. I just wanted to show you one other thing as we kind of wrap up the call today. When you log into Homesteaders, this is such cool stuff, and you got to get on there to kind of look, unless you're reading your emails from Homesteaders on a regular basis. But I love this last bar, and that's the remote pre-need sales agent resource kit. If you click on that, I mean, this is just what's happened over the last few months and what Homesteaders has done. So for those of you who don't have the option for online enrollment, eFuneral Agent might be available. This is something we'll probably have to talk about more in detail, especially I think Brad mentioned that they don't have online enrollment in the state of Idaho. We don't have it in the state of Nevada, but we do have eFuneral Agent, which is a very similar platform. But again, you can learn more about it. It basically extends the core of eFuneral Partner. You can facilitate pre-need sales from start to finish, even when you can't meet face-to-face, okay? I don't really know very much about Zoom, so here's a great call that they put together, a training on how to use Zoom video conferencing platform. So we're not going to get into that today, but this is another thing we can watch on how to use Zoom. There's online enrollment training modules. So if you're not really comfortable with online enrollment yet, jump on here and figure that out. They've created letters specific to the COVID situation. So here's a bunch of letters that you can use for families that explain that we can now do everything online, and some great letter templates to send to families. Letters to consumers with funded prearrangements, tip for overcoming common objections. So these are the things that we've been talking about for a very long time, about how to overcome the objections. There's a community engagement program. These are all the presentations that Homesteaders has created that we can do in group presentations or do online presentations. We've got a couple of those virtual presentations coming up with some of you here in the very near future, that we're going to try some of this online lunch and learn type platform presentations. So again, facilitating funeral sales during a crisis. This is a fillable PDF that you can send to families, a guide to funeral planning. This is a reminder that now is not the time to tap the brakes on pre-need. Some funeral homes reacted in a way that they're going to pull back on pre-need advertising. This is a really great article. If you're in that situation, or if you're with maybe with a funeral home that's kind of had a more conservative approach during this of pulling back on pre-need marketing, this is a really great article on why it's more important now than ever to let families know that you are available to serve them on a pre-need basis. And then there's a whole virtual presentation resources toolkit, which kind of walks you through how to do a virtual presentation. So again, if you haven't logged in to see some of this stuff, I would encourage you to do it. There's some really great ideas, tools, and resources available to kind of help you through the whole process. So any last comments, any questions about what we've gone over so far today? And then if you need individual help, of course, please reach out to your manager. But is there any last thoughts, feedback, comments that you might have as we wrap up the call today? Just unmute yourself, by the way, if you need to talk. Okay, perfect. Well, if you guys have any specific questions, I encourage you to reach out to your manager. We can help you with any of these things that will assist you with. And then also, one last reminder too, send us a quick note if you need us to resend you those PDF presentations that we've created for your firm. We'd be happy to resend those because they're probably at the bottom of your email somewhere if you haven't saved those to your computer. So reach out to us if you'd like those tools resent to you as well, so you've got a kind of a refresher on those things that we created. Some of you have used that stuff very successfully. Others are still, kind of trying to learn some of this stuff, so we understand the learning curve for everybody's different. But this call was primarily just a reminder to each of you of the tools and resources that have been created to be able to help you serve families, continue to serve families during this process and during this pandemic without having to meet face to face. So thank you guys for being on the call today. And if you got any specific questions, feel free to reach out to me or to your manager. Drop us an email, and we'll be happy to assist you as much as we possibly can to help you get through this. Again, the best way to learn is just to get in and do it, and to practice with someone that you know, so that when you actually do it live with a real client, that you're pretty comfortable with all of the process. So you guys, thanks so much for your time today. Let's continue to have a great month of August. So exciting to see how we're starting. And of course, exciting to see how we finish the month of July, and just can't be more excited with how things are going and the momentum that we've gained. So you guys, thanks so much for your time. Have a great rest of your day. Take care. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.